Okay, welcome everyone. If you guys could all do me a favor and just please make sure you're on mute. And then as we go forward, if you guys can utilize the chat feature for any questions that you have, I'll be monitoring the chat and making sure I'm answering any questions. My name is Brittany Hayes. Thank you guys all for being on tonight. Super excited to share with you guys just how we can have the best summer ever. I've been in this industry for about a decade now, a little bit about my story. And I've been out of the industry for about 5 years when Mike reached out to me about this opportunity. And so I was a part of pre launch and super excited to be here with all of you guys, bringing this incredible product that we know so many people need, whether they know it or not. And I'm just super excited about everything that's to come. So I firmly believe that summer can be one of the best seasons of our business when we utilize it correctly. We have so many people, in the summer who are finally focused, teachers who are looking to make extra income, and, have something to do over the summer. We have people that, have summer vacation and they're like, holy cow, I need to get healthy. And there's just so many opportunities that summer brings if you're looking for them. And so I felt called to do this Zoom tonight, specifically focused on how can we have the best summer ever and how can we really start summer off strong. Now that we are officially in June, which is so crazy to believe. I feel like this year has just flown by. So as we start going, like I said, please utilize the chat for any questions that you have, and I will be monitoring that and answering them as we go. So I want to start with, why are you here? What is your story? What brought you into Immunotech? It could be that you were a customer first or someone let you try the body shot. It could be that you knew someone, prior to joining the business, just like I did. And you felt, a strong call once you heard, what the business was about, what the company stood for, the research, the science, and you decided to join. So many of you guys probably have different reasons, and a lot of you probably have the same reasons. But if you feel, so led to share in the chat, I would love to hear what brought you to this company, how you found it, why you wanted to join. If you don't want to share, that's okay. But first things first, we want to at least answer this question in and of our, inside ourselves. Like, why am I here? What made me want to join this business? Because if you don't know why, I can tell you it's probably going to be more challenging than it needs to be for you to really be successful. But if you know why, you are going to be able to reach so many more people authentically because you know why you're here. I see Roberta said in the chat, hello, I'm a parent of an 8th grader and I teach PSAT, SAT, ACT prep. Nice to meet you, Roberta. Anna said the health benefits and like-minded people is what brought her here. Absolutely. I think a lot of people, that's going to be the reason, Anna. Honestly, when I heard all the benefits of the products, I knew that I had to be a part of this company. And, it's funny because I had already decided that I wanted to be a part of the company before that moment. But when I really started learning the science, it was just a complete no-brainer. So I can completely relate to that wholeheartedly. But anyways, that being said, we got some more people joining. Let me just keep I hate that they took away the co-host feature on Zoom because used to you could have a co-host, and that was super convenient to have someone monitoring, letting people in. But here we go. All right, put it back in the chat. Okay. Shannon said hope and healing. My husband from MS and my son from autism. I love that so much. And it's awesome because we have clinical studies for both of those things. So number one, I want to say, if you're one of those people that maybe you don't know why you're here, I want to encourage you to take a look at the clinical studies. I know that they're in my personal team page. They're also in the big team page, the Immunotech Pros, in the files. And I just want to encourage you to really take some time reading those, because I promise you, if you aren't yet impressed by the product, you will be when you really take some time to look at what it has done for so many different groups of people: Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, autism. Sorry, making sure everybody's muted. Autism, autoimmune diseases, cancer, it could go on and on and on. And like, that is one thing that stood out to me, was like, holy cow, all these different groups of people that have been told they can't heal, there's nothing anybody can do for them. Or if they can heal, they've been told it's going to be hard, it's going to be a long road. To read those clinical studies and see that there is something that can give those people hope, that's what does it for me. For those of you who don't know, I was diagnosed with soft tissue sarcoma, cancer in my soft tissues, the end of last year. And such a God thing, I was reached out to by Mike about 6 weeks after I found out, I heard my diagnosis. He had no clue because I hadn't told very many people yet. I'd only told people in my really close circle. and I had not posted anything about it yet. And it's funny because we actually had decided we were going to share it on social media that week. And that was the week Mike reached out. So, a little bit about my story healing with the product. I started taking the Body Shot religiously the end of December, beginning of January. Can't remember exactly. I'd have to go look back at exactly when Mike reached out, but started taking the Body Shot and the greens and Sunray. And I was covered in a rash from head to toe. So if you look at my social media on my Instagram, you'll see I've done a couple of reels that like showed what I looked like. And I was covered, like I said, head to toe, especially on my lymph nodes, like underarms, neck, anywhere that I had lymph nodes was extremely, extremely covered and swollen as well. Within a couple weeks of being on the Body Shot, my rash started to slowly clear. Within, I would say, month 2, I started having so much more energy coming back. My inflammation started going down, and it's just continued to get better and better from there. And so I just cannot say it enough. If you have anything going on and you have not been religiously using the Body Shot, I encourage you to definitely do that. If you have family member, friends, anyone that has something going on that is serious, don't be afraid to just reach out to them and be like, hey, like, I would love for you to try this. It's got a 30-day money back guarantee, and it's backed by 45 plus years of research. You literally have nothing to lose and everything to gain. It's crazy how many people, when they hear the research and the science behind it, they're like, okay, I have to, how could I not try this? You know? So anyways, going back to why are you here? That's the first question we've got to ask ourselves. Second question is like, what is my story and what do I want out of this business? You know, why, obviously we know, like we've already answered what brought us here, but like, what do I now want to accomplish? Do I want to help as many people with the product as I can? Do I want to build a massive team that I can, you know, help people break chains and find financial freedom while also helping people? You know, again, your answer doesn't have to be cookie cutter. It can look different depending on who you are and where you're at and, you know, what your goals are. But you got to know these things, because if we don't know where we're going, we're not going to get there. So a couple of things I want to lead with before we jump into content is one thing that my team knows I preach till the cows come home is self-development, 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 self-development. If you are not pouring into your mind, it's going to be so much more difficult to really accomplish not only what you want to accomplish, but to really have the effect on people that you want to have and you're capable of having. And so I want to encourage you to like get in a groove of, you know, listening to audiobooks, starting every morning with something like The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale. It's a 30-minute YouTube video. I listen to it every single morning. I actually started listening to it in my last company, and it is amazing the mindset shift that you will notice by listening to that every day. And if you don't want to listen to that, that's fine. But like, whether it's a sermon, whether it's Stephen Furtick or Darius Daniels is another one of my favorites, whether it's listening to their YouTubes first thing in the morning, whether it's, like I said, having an audiobook that you're constantly listening to. I love Grant Cardone. I love Ed Milet. Trying to think of who another good one is that I like. It's like escaping me right now, but he's got, Neville Goddard. He's another good one that I really love. There's so many amazing ones that you can listen to, and I'm happy to share any recommendations if you want to put in, you know, say a little bit about yourself and what you're struggling with in the chat. At the end, I can share some of my top recommendations, but I can tell you my highest years of income personally in this industry have been directly correlated to how much self-development that I've done. The year that I read 70 books was my highest income every year. And so I say that to say, like, if it's not yet a part of your routine, make it a part of your routine, whether you listen to something while you're driving, getting ready in the morning. You know, it doesn't have to be like you're sitting down with this carved time of the day. It can literally be while you're having your coffee, you know, getting ready for work, driving, like I said, you know, taking a shower. Just like find those intentional spots of time that you're pouring into yourself, because it will make a world of a difference. So that's the first thing I always like to say before we go into what things to do, because I firmly believe it doesn't matter what things I can teach you to do or any other leader can teach you to do. If you're not pouring into your mind, you're not going to have the same results as someone who is. So that's first things first. Okay. So going into content and what, you know, so many people, I feel like that's what they equate, like, you know, the magic sauce is like, well, whatever I post, that's what's going to draw people in. And that is true to some extent, but you also want to make sure you're doing things behind the scenes, like liking and commenting on people's stuff, you know, replying to people's stories, intentionally engaging with people. One tip that I give, everyone that I work closely with is making sure that they are, you know, when you see people posting on your feed, that it's like their spouse's birthday or it's their birthday or it's their kid's birthday. It's their anniversary, you know, just take a couple seconds to, let me make sure everyone's muted here. take a couple seconds to make sure that, you know, you comment happy birthday, comment happy anniversary. Like these are simple things that we can do that, you know, people notice. They really, you know, it's such a small thing, but like it does stand out to people. And if you can get in the habit of just like every time you open your feed, if you see any birthdays, you see any anniversaries, just like take a second to comment on them. That is an easy way. You can stay top of people's mind, engage with people. And again, it's simple. It's nothing that took you a whole lot of time. It's just that being intentional, you know? So engagement is key. Growing your network, especially if this is your first time in this industry. You need to be growing your network daily. I know some of us have been in the industry for a long time and we already have a really big network, but even us, we still need to be growing it because there's people, you know, that have been following us for years, and why not continue to grow that number and have fresh eyes on our page, you know? So a couple quick ways, and I don't want to get into this too much because I do have several videos on my YouTube recently that I've done with a couple other leaders. One's called Social Media Basics. I highly recommend it. It goes over like really simple ways to grow. So I'm not going to get into too much, but I do just want to say, don't overcomplicate it. You know, go to someone that was popular in high school, go to their friends list and add just people that you have 5 to 10 mutual friends with. Don't add too many, but add, you know, 10 a day, and just keep doing that until you're building up that following, or building up that friends list. And then with, Instagram, a good thing to do is something similar, but not quite necessarily someone you know. You can go to someone you don't know, not anybody in the business. You never want to take from someone's network that's in the company. But you can go to someone that you follow that's maybe inspiring. Like let's say there's an influencer you follow, or there's you know, someone that just puts out really good content, helpful tips, whatever, and you really love what they post. You can go to their latest 3 posts and click on the likes and follow the likers that look relevant to the type of people you would want to be interacting with. The reason I say to go to the likes and not the people that are actually following them is the people that are following them might not even necessarily be active Instagram users. These could have been, some of those people could have been following them for years, and they're not necessarily active anymore. Like if you went to their page, they might not have posted since like 2022. However, if they just liked one of their recent 3 posts, they're 100% active on Instagram because they just like to post. So that's a little quick tip for you there. I saw in the chat, Sherry asked, what is your YouTube site? It's just my name. So if you do like youtube.com/Brittany Hayes, that's my YouTube site. But anyways, that being said, I always like to start with that because I know everyone wants to hear about content, but if you're not doing the growth and engagement portion of what you need to be doing, you're going to find that your content only reaches so many people. The engagement part is going to help your algorithm, and the growth part, obviously self-explanatory. It's going to get you fresh eyes on your page for content. So what is it called? Building your story brand, the power of telling a story. Oh my gosh, I always have to look at this. Let me pull it up on Audible real quick. There is a book that I highly recommend. I listened to it back years ago, Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. If someone wants to put that in the chat, I'm on my iPad because I'm at my son's football practice, so it's a little harder to type. But it's called Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. I listened to the first version of it years ago when I first was in this industry. And then I listened to the 2.0 version probably like 2 months ago or so. And it is a phenomenal book if you feel like content is something you struggle with. It's going to talk about how you want to approach everything. Thank you, Sherry, for putting that in there. It's going to talk about how you want to approach everything from like a place of telling a story. Like you want people to see themselves, like see their story in your post. And you can do this with the opportunity. You can do this with the product post. So if you look at my last like few product posts, you'll notice like I'm kind of following a theme. And I'm going to talk about that in a little bit and give you guys tips on how you can kind of like find your own themes. But you'll notice that I'm like, each post is kind of building upon the one before, and I'm like leading people down a story of like believing healing's possible, you know, realizing there's simple things they can do and implement that are going to help with their health. And then with the business, I always like to tell my story again in a place that people can see themselves and see hope. So talking about where you've been, where you were when you started, and where you're going. So for those of you that are brand new and are probably like, well, I'm brand new, I don't have any success yet, I don't know what to talk about. That's okay. Share where you're going and share it boldly. So maybe you say something like, you know, for months and months, you know, maybe say something like, you know, with the economy being what it's been for the last couple of years, I had several months in a row that I just felt like, you know, I was living paycheck to paycheck, and that there was more month than there was money. And I, you know, saw an opportunity that, you know, I just couldn't quite shake might be for me. I jumped in and got started. I'm now working off social media and sharing, incredible products that can help so many people and making an income at the same time. I'm so excited about what this is doing for my family. We have big goals that this is going to help achieve. You see what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't have to be that you're claiming you've already made some crazy success. You can literally just share that hope and that inspiration of where you're headed. And you would be surprised how many people, like, that's what's going to draw them in, because they're like, hey, that's me. I feel like the economy has hit us really hard. I feel like we've had such a rough, past few months, or rough past year or two. Maybe that could work for me too. And even if they don't join you at that very second, what likely is going to happen is they're going to start watching you closely. They're going to start waiting to see, is she consistent with this? Is he consistent with this? Is this going to be something they stick to? What's going to happen with this? And that's where, again, that consistency is going to come in really huge, because when you keep going and, your upline announces you promoted to venture, silver, gold, they're going to be watching. And so even as you just climb those like baby steps, maybe you get, you get your first paycheck and you just post something, not sharing the amount, but you're like, just got my first paycheck from working off my smartphone, and I'm absolutely amazed at what it was for just my first couple of weeks of work. If I can keep doing what I'm doing, in a few months from now, this is going to be seriously life-changing for my family. If you could use some extra income too to cover gas and groceries, etc., I'd love to talk to you. See how easy that is? Like, you're not claiming you've made $1 million, but you're just showing like, hey, like, this is taking the edge off. And that, coupled with your product posts and sharing what the products are going to do for people, is going to be huge for, the impact you're going to be able to have on social media. So I want to share a tip real quick that I implemented about a month ago, and I've been doing it with my like small mentorship groups that I've been working with in my downline. And it has been something that we've all been seeing fruit from. Let me just make sure everyone's muted real quick. So if you know me well, you know that I do not like ChatGPT for writing content. I just think we got to stay authentic, right? We got to write stuff from our heart. People can spot when it's written by a computer. And also social media can spot it. Social media now Instagram has announced that they do have software that can detect ChatGPT, and they will suppress posts to the bottom of the algorithm that are written by ChatGPT. So a little fun fact, you don't want to use ChatGPT to write your posts, but what it is really good for is generating ideas. So I'm going to share with you guys something that I was trying to grab this to open my iPad. It's just the case, and I'm talking on my iPad, so sorry. But I guess I can't pull it up in this very second, but I do remember the gist of what it was. So, and I can post this in the team page later for anyone that wants the exact verbiage I use. But basically, about a month ago, I went to ChatGPT and I said, act as a seasoned social media manager for a health and wellness brand that can help people. And I'm going to butcher this part. I got to look at exactly what I wrote, but that can help people, naturally heal from things like, and I put autoimmune diseases, cancer, et cetera, all the things that we know the Body Shot helps with, and provide a 90-day content plan or content strategy, something like that. Like I said, I'll share this in the team page for anyone who wants it. And then I put what my niche market is. So I put like whose niche market is blah, 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 blah. And so, yeah, I did that, and it immediately gave me an amazing 90-day plan of like a kind of a story flow to follow. So I'll just kind of share with you guys a couple of things that mine did. And this is what I've been sharing with all of my people on my team who I've been working with closely. So sorry, I'm sitting in my car just went off. The first month, the theme is like awareness and hope. And so the week one is like kind of the theme of I see you. So, first post or first day of the week, you would post something like, ever feel like you're doing everything right, but still exhausted. The next day you would do something like three subtle signs your body is overwhelmed. The next day you would do morning routine showing how you boost your energy naturally. The next day you would do a poll in your story asking what's your biggest energy drain. Friday you would do a reel saying, you're not lazy, you're depleted. Then let's see, the next week, because I didn't do the next two because I didn't really like them, so I did some other things. The next week is your story. So share your before, how you felt before the supplements, lifestyle change. The next day you would do a timeline, like how long it took you to start seeing results. This is why being a product of the product is so huge, you guys, because if you're a product of the product and you're running your auto shipment every month and getting your products, you are going to have so much more that you can share, because whether you join this business with something serious going on, like I know so many people did, myself included, or whether you join this business with not really anything serious going on, you're still going to see results. One of my friends in the business just posted something the other day about about how her eyesight is improving and getting better, just from being on the product. And, other things that she was experiencing are going down, or inflammation, things like that. And so, again, like, even if you think you're pretty healthy, I promise you there's going to be something that you notice when you start being consistent with the Body Shot, Sunray, etc. The next day, it's sharing a testimonial or a screenshot from someone else. So if you didn't yet have customers, you could grab a testimonial from the team page. If you did have customers, you can ask them to type you up a quick review. The next day, it was, what I wish I knew before starting. So I'm not going to read them all to you, but you get the gist. The next week is all about supplement education, like why you need supplements. The next week, which is the week I'm on right now, is lifestyle tips. And it just keeps going. And each month, there's an overarching theme, and then each week there's individual themes. And so that's what I've been sharing with, like I said, my team personally. And it's been working so well for the people that are following it and are doing the task. And it's something that all of you can do, even if you aren't, working one-on-one with somebody. That's what I'm going to share it in the team page, like I said, after the Zoom. So don't worry. I encourage you to put this in there, change my prompts to whatever is relevant for you. So like change your niche market to exactly the kind of people you want to work with. I'm broad, so I put women 20 to 60, typically moms, even empty nesters. Like, I got really specific, but I did keep the age range, broad, because being in this industry, I've worked with people that are 18, 19, 20 in college. And I've worked with people that are, in their 50s or 60s. And, again, empty nesters, really wanting something to make extra income at that season of life, and also looking for the community and the support. So like, I encourage you, don't get too narrow. You can get as narrow as you want, but don't get too narrow. I do encourage you to keep it a little broad, because, the more narrow we get, we miss out on people that we can help. So that has been absolutely golden for me. I did the same thing for business as well. So I have like a content plan for opportunity posts. I have a content plan for product posts. So if you're one of those people that you're like, okay, like I can do the things, but my brain, doesn't work that way. I'm not creative. I don't know what kind of things to write. I encourage you to, utilize ChatGPT to help you with that, because that is going to be something that keeps it simple. You're still going to have to write your post. You're still going to have to be consistent and do the things, but at least you have that guidance. And if you can show up and make yourself proud and stick to 90 days of like following that plan, I promise you will be successful. Really utilize the team page, the leaders in the team page, and things like that, for help with conversations. I'm going to give you guys some tips with conversations tonight, but I encourage you, like, if you have a lot of people reaching out and you're not signing anybody, it could come down to what you're saying. So don't hesitate to reach out to your enroller. If they're new too, reach out to their enroller. Ask in the team page. That's what all of us leaders are there for, is to help answer these questions. So couple tips that I want to give. Let me let some new people in the waiting room. Okay, good. We're good. But a couple tips I want to give for conversations, just to keep your conversations flowing smoothly, help you seal the deal faster. Number one, you want to make sure that when you do your follow-ups, and even when you're in conversation, you always end on a question. Okay. So if someone asks you about the Body Shot, for example, when you send them info, you're not just going to send them info and not end on a question. You're not going to send info and then just say, let me know if you want to try some. You're going to send the info, and then you're going to say, does all that make sense? Or did you want to go ahead and try some? Did you want to get some ordered? So like, depending on what you said, depends on what question you end on. Whenever I tell someone first about like just what the Body Shot does, and I haven't given pricing yet, I will end with, did you want pricing info? Because now I've told them what it's about. If they don't have any questions, the natural next step is pricing info. So did you want pricing info? And then when they say, yes, please, I give the pricing info, and I end with, did you want to go ahead and get some ordered? And here's the deal. It's either going to be a yes, I do, or it's going to be a, oh, I really want to, but like, I've got to wait till I get paid, or, oh, I want to, but finances are tight. One thing that I love to do, when that happens, if someone does come on and say like, oh, I would love to, but finances are tight. So they don't say when they get paid, they don't give you like an idea of when they could order it. They just say like, I wish I could, but I can't. In that case, I always flip it to the business. So I'll say, and I like to do this over voice message so they can sense that you're being genuine. Okay. Because we always want to make sure that we're being sensitive when people are, tight on money. And, we want to make sure that they can genuinely sense that we're genuinely trying to help them. So what I do is I'll voice message and just say, hey, I totally understand. I don't know if you've ever considered, making an extra income off your phone and, doing something like I do. But I'd love to give you info if you're open to it. You would get an even bigger discount on the products. And it would be something that, 100% if you share with other people could, at the very minimum, you could help a couple people and get your products for free, or you can help more people get your products for free and make an extra income. And it is crazy when you just say, are you open to it? If you're open to it, I'd love to send you info. How many people will be like, yeah, you know what? Tell me a little bit about it. So I like to just tell them like a little bit about what we do. Ask them what questions we have. The first question is almost always, oh, so how much is it to get started? And if I was already talking to them about the Body Shot bundle, which for those of you that maybe call it something different, what I call the Body Shot bundle is just the Body Shot, Immunical, with the super greens and reds and Sunray. So whenever anybody asks me about the Body Shot, I just tell them that the Body Shot is typically always sold in a bundle. So we always recommend it in a bundle is what I like to say. And so in that case, that's pretty much all I'm talking to them about. I'm not talking about just the Immunical. It's always the combo. Oh, hold on. Getting a call. Sorry guys, let me. So easy. Oh, now my car's coming back on. Okay, 1 second. Sorry. Okay. Sorry, my husband was calling me. Where was I? Okay. Just lost my train of thought.
Always comes in a bundle.
Yes, thank you. Always comes in a bundle. So when they ask how much it is to get started in the business, thank you, Sherry. I say, so actually it's the same price pretty much to get started in the business as it was for you to buy the Body Shop bundle. And the great thing is then from that point, you're going to, on your future orders, get a little bit of a bigger discount on the product. And if you're open to me teaching you, how to work this business, I can help you get your first few customers, which is not only going to help pay you back for, what you're spending on products each month, but we can help you make a little bit extra too. How much would you need to make to really kind of take the edge off of, the financial strain you're experiencing right now? And at that point, people will say totally different things. Some people will be like, if I could just have my product for free, I'd be fine. Or if I could make $500 extra a month, that would be great. And so that really opens up the conversation to be personal and to really meet them where they're at. And just, again, share that hope with them, share, hey, I can definitely help you do that, and I like to talk to people about what silver is. We have a rank that's called silver. I don't want to overwhelm you with too many details, but essentially, if you just get your first 3 customers and you help 3 other people get started in the business and help each of them get their first 3 customers, I can help you go silver, which is an average of about $1,100 a month. You also get a bonus on your second month, so then you get a little bit more. It is amazing how many people at that point, they're like, wow, that doesn't sound that hard, and oh my gosh, that would be a huge help. So keep it stupid simple when you're talking to people about the business. Like, if a 5-year-old can't understand what you're saying, you're probably saying too much. Remember that a confused mind will always say no. So don't word vomit on them and give them all this stuff. Just keep it simple, follow their lead. If they don't, I always also tell people, don't answer a question that wasn't asked. So if they didn't ask the question, don't answer it. Just keep it simple and really let them kind of guide the conversation, or like let the conversation flow with what questions they have, I guess is what, I'm trying to share. Before we keep going, does anybody have any questions? If so, drop them in the chat. Want to make sure that I'm not going too fast. If you got questions, want to make sure you get that clarity. But okay, so that is my best tip for if you do get the objection that's just kind of like closed-ended, like, oh, I wish I could, but I can't. If someone just kind of like doesn't say anything at all, I will touch back base with them. If it was like morning, the end of the day, if it was already kind of end of the day, I'll touch base with them tomorrow, and I'll just say like, hey, Sherry, what questions did you still have for me? That is a great, simple way that's not pushy, just to kind of open that conversation back up. The second thing I want to share about that is follow up. I've been listening to Grant Cardone's Be Obsessed or Be Average for like the 3rd time. And one thing that he said in the chapter that I was listening to today was he said that most follow-ups actually happen between the 5th and 12th. Most sales actually happen between the 5th and 12th follow-up. And he says most salespeople stop following up with people after 2 to 4 times. So sorry, I'm just trying to make sure everyone's muted. Most salespeople stop following up between 2 and 4 times. So most people never even get to that point of, statistically when people actually do decide to buy. So that is something that I cannot stress enough. Follow up, follow up, follow up. And if you're listening to this right now and you're feeling convicted and you're like, I have not been following up, start now. Start on this Friday. Follow up with every single person you've talked to. You can start tonight, start tomorrow, making a list if you haven't already. Everyone you've talked to. I like to keep a running list on a notepad that says potential customers and a running list on a notepad that says potential consultants. And I just write everybody down as they reach out. So if you've never done this, I would encourage you to take some time tonight after the Zoom. You can even do it right now while you're listening if you want, and just start going through your Facebook messages. Scroll all the way back to when you started the business and do the same thing on Instagram, the same thing on text, and just go, find every single person that's ever reached out to you. And then write their name down. And then Friday, I like to do follow-ups because most people get paid Fridays. And so if it is a money thing, they're a lot more likely going to order if you check in with them on a day they got paid. And I like to keep my follow-ups, again, super simple. So if Sherry had reached out to me about products, I would check in with her on Friday and be like, hey, Sherry, were you ready to get started on the Body Shot? I would love so much to help you. Short, sweet, and to the point. If Sherry was interested in being a consultant with me, I would reach out and say, hey, Sherry, were you ready to get started working with me? I would love so much to help you. Again, short, sweet, and to the point. You don't have to say exactly that. You can say it in a way that sounds like you, but keep it simple. Don't send them like a whole book. Just, a couple sentences will suffice. But yeah, follow-ups are absolutely key. And I promise you, if you haven't been doing follow-ups, this is a great way to get your month started off strong by checking in with people, especially now that kids are out of school and people kind of feel like, one season has kind of come to a close and they're entering another season. You would be surprised how many people are now, they do now feel like they have the capacity to focus on themselves and work on themselves, or the capacity to start something else. Speaking of the business, obviously. So those are my core tips I want to share is, having a content strategy and being consistent with it, showing up consistently, even if you don't feel like it. And I'm not, no shame if you have a day that's just crazy. We all have those days where the day gets away from us, kids get sick, we forgot about some event we had that evening, and we're just running around like a chicken with our head cut off. Those days are going to happen. Don't beat yourself up about that. Pick back up the next day. But a good rule of thumb that I like to live by in business and in life in general is just don't drop the same ball 2 days in a row. If I drop a ball one day, I'm going to make sure I definitely don't drop that ball the next day, because if I can rectify the situation and show up the next day in the way that I need to, it's going to be it's not going to be anything that's hard to course correct from. When it becomes hard to course correct is when you haven't posted for 2 weeks and now you're like, man, now what do I say? I feel like I've been ghosting my social media for so long. So doing your growth and engagement, having a content plan, and doing your follow-ups. And then again, the big one, which is what we started with, is protecting your mindset. This is so important, so huge. I promise you there are going to be days that life throws a lot at you, but if you started the day off strong and you've been growing your mindset and protecting your mindset, you're going to find that it's a lot easier to handle those things that come at you than it would be if you haven't been. So, okay. Casey said in the comments, do you have templates for conversation flows with the examples you were sharing that we can use to help us in conversations to keep them flowing and not word vomiting? Yes. So what I'm going to do is, you know what, I'll make a separate post in the big team page. I was going to say I'll comment it on the Zoom post, but I'll just make a separate post. That way it's easy for people to find ongoingly. I will share my pricing wording in there, and then I'll share how I break it apart, like how I first talk about the Body Shot and then how I give pricing info and all that. I think that would probably help most of you. And then if you want to change anything, here's what I always tell people. If you need to change a couple things here and there to make it sound like you, that's fine, but don't change the meat and potatoes. So make sure you're ending on a question. Make sure that the core things stay the same, even if you want to change a little bit of the wording to sound more like you talk. It's the core things that matter. So I will put that in there, and then I'll put the ChatGPT prompts as well. That way you guys can, fully take advantage of that. I'm telling you, ChatGPT gives some great ideas. Don't let it replace your authenticity as a human, but absolutely use its brains to give you those ideas, because it's going to help you just feel a lot more like you have a plan, and I think that when we have a plan, and we, especially a 90-day content plan, and we can look at that and be like, okay, I have a 90-day plan. All you gotta do is just show up. And what I love about it is if you can just kind of start getting in the groove. And I say this,
I'm Unitech training call. I don't know how I got a text.
I don't say this lightly, because I know that for some people, if you've never really been active on social media, this can be a little difficult, and I totally get that. But once you get in the groove and you've been writing consistently and you've been showing up consistently, it will start to get easier writing the post where it shouldn't take you much longer than like 10-15 minutes. And again, I totally get if you're just now really starting to be consistent, maybe it takes you 30 minutes. But once you get in the groove and you get in the flow and you're consistently using the products and you have genuine things you want to say, you should find that you can follow this content guide and get stuff done in about 10-15 minutes. So, Sherry, yeah. So Chat GPT, I'm saying prompts that you can use for Chat GPT. So I'm going to put those in the team page. That way you guys all have that. But yeah, Casey just said it's an AI app you can download, and there's a free version. I just use the free version, full disclosure. I know some people do the paid version and it's got a little bit more benefits, but you can use the free version. If you do the paid version, you can have it create images for you and stuff. I don't really typically do that because I like to take all my own photos and, again, just keeping things authentic and keeping things personal to me, where when someone sees that piece of content, they know like, oh, that's Brittany, or, oh, that's Brittany and her husband, or, oh, that's her kids. You know what I mean? And that's kind of the last little bonus tip I wanted to give. And then again, please, if anybody has questions, utilize the chat and I'll answer them before we hop off. But one tip I wanted to give is, even though I typically focus on the Body Shop bundle, so I pretty much post about the Body Shop nonstop, and then in conversations, I'm selling them the bundle. I do post about K21 some. I love K21. And I post about Sunray by itself occasionally too. But the other little bonus tip that I want to give is I do, just intermittent stories of my kids with the WIMS gummies. Every single time I do it, I don't do it a lot because I try to really focus on the core bundle that I'm selling. But every time I do it, I will either have someone that's already a customer that's like already been buying the Body Shop bundle that wants to add WIMS for their kids, or someone that will randomly just reach out and be like, hey, tell me about those kids gummies. My kids hate the vitamins they're taking right now. So if you have kids, and I understand some of you maybe have kids that are grown, some of you don't have kids, but if you do have kids in the house, utilize them as models for this. I'll literally just do like a quick little video story where I show my kids opening it, eating it, and I'll be like, do you love it? And they'll be like, yeah, can I have another? Or, something like that. And then I will, just type something on the screen about how our gummies are, sugar-free, no artificial sweeteners, dyes, coloring, blah, blah, blah. All the good things, and they're affordable. They're less than $20. And I'll just say, again, I always give a call to action. So I'll say, DM me gummies for info, or DM me WIMS for info. And that's another thing. I don't think I said this when I was talking about content, but make sure every single piece of content you do, whether it's product or business, has a clear call to action. If it does not have a clear call to action, I promise you, people will be so much less likely to reach out. But if you share something like, say it was a post about the Body Shot, if you share something like, drop a heart for info, or DM me Body Shop for info, or comment Body Shop for info. I do drop a heart for info a lot because it works. People it's so easy. All they gotta do is just drop a quick heart. And then I just reply to the comment and say, sending you info. And then I send them info. So that works really well for me. And that's one thing I love, but you could do anything. If it's a Sunray post, you could do do the little sun emoji, drop a sun for info, just keep it simple. And then if it's about the business, I will do text opportunity to my phone number. And guys, I cannot tell you how amazing that is, because most people, when they're reaching out about the business, because it's more personal, they want a way to kind of reach out anonymously. They don't want to comment on something for everybody to see. And when they've texted you, you don't have their number saved. So you don't even know who they are yet. So that works so well. I can't tell you how many texts I get that say opportunity. And I just keep it super simple. I text them, hi, thanks so much for reaching out. I'm so excited to tell you more. What's your name? Once they tell me their name, I say, again, I'm so excited to talk with you. I'm going to send you a voice message. And then I just voice message them about the business from there. But yeah, make sure everything has a call to action, because that's going to, greatly improve the amount of reach outs that you have. So does anybody have any questions before we wrap up? Well, if you think of any questions after the fact, please feel free to message me. I'm going to share these things in the team page, the pricing wording and the Chat GPT prompts. And I hope that everyone, really can just take the things you learn tonight, utilize them, and have an amazing summer in this business, because I firmly believe summertime, if you utilize it correctly, can explode your business and really set you up to go into the busy, fall and holiday months, with a strong foundation in business. But you got to take advantage of it first. You know what I mean? You got to utilize the things that you know to do and show up and be consistent. So, y'all already did step one of that, showing up tonight. I encourage you to really stay plugged into any other Zooms that we have this summer, you know, that are announced in the team page. And if it's something that you know, has a conflict with your schedule, make sure to watch the replay. When you show up, you start going up. When you soak in that wisdom from other people and people that have, you know, done things before you've done them, it is amazing how much more confident you will start getting and how much you'll start feeling like, okay, I'm in a good flow. I've got this. So I hope everyone has a wonderful night. Thank you for being here, and I will talk to you guys soon.